Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had quite the battle with our Alberta rivals, that being the Calgary Flames. It was an interesting series once again. Basically, you could see that we found ourselves in a 2-1 deficit after the first three games. We then bounced back with a win of our own to tie the series up, but then once again we lost. So at that point, I was thinking maybe we're going to be going out in 6 games. Well, lucky for us, we go to game 6. We had a big overtime goal from Cameron on a nice deflection. It was a really good setup play by the team, and we managed to get that victory on home ice to force a game 7. Game 7, the team decided to figure itself out a little bit more, and we won 4-1 in that game 7, and we will be going to the conference finals this year against a pretty tough Nashville Predators team who's only lost one game up to this point in time, so it should be a pretty tough matchup for us. Nashville was technically the better of the two teams during the regular season as well, and also you can see during the playoffs so far, they've been absolutely electric of a team. They're very good offensively. They're the best offensive team in the playoffs right now. They're also the best defensive team almost. There's one team that's better than theirs, which I don't know who that is, if it's an Eastern Conference team that's still in the playoffs like Tampa or Buffalo, or if it's a team that got eliminated. Either or, they've only allowed 2 goals against per game. Their special teams are also pretty solid. Their power play is 10th, so it's not the craziest power play, but obviously our power play has been dreadful by comparison to theirs, and they're also 6th on the penalty kills. So they've been a good team in terms of a lot of different areas, so it's going to be definitely a tough team to beat, but I'm hoping that we could find a way to beat them, considering they've only lost 1 game up to this point. They're definitely due for a little bit of a losing streak at some point, you would assume. So hopefully we can find a way to beat them. They have built up quite the team also over the last few years. They've been drafting well. They've also been able to pick up some decent players like Taylor Hall over the last few years as well, with the Toronto Maple Leafs making a trade with them. Because I think Phil Kessel went from Toronto to Nashville, and then Taylor Hall went back from Toronto to Nashville. Or actually, wait. Was it the same deal? I think it might have been the same deal, but regardless, Nashville's picked up some good pieces. They moved on from Shea Weber a few years ago, got Tyler Seguin in as well. So they have a young team, and it's definitely a team that probably could win a Stanley Cup in this franchise mode. So anyways, with that said, let's get you guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll make sure we're set up and ready to go for game number 1. So the first comment is from Michael Dosius: is not able to finish franchise with Nathan MacKinnon. Other team stinks. And I don't really know what he means by that, but I think he means not being able to finish this franchise mode with Nathan MacKinnon kind of sucks, because obviously this is probably one of the last years of this franchise mode. Based on this standpoint, I think this episode's obviously going up on the Friday, the 22nd. I don't think we have really enough time to almost do another full season of this potentially, unless I kind of make it a marathon type of episode. So there might not be another full season potentially after this one, depending on how far we get, which kind of sucks. It would be nice if we could go all the way to the end so we could kind of see how guys like Cameron and MacKinnon, all those guys, how their careers pan out. But unfortunately, we're just not going to be able to get 25 years of this franchise mode done. But hopefully next year when I do a throwback roster again, hopefully we can get a little bit further this time around. And the last and final comment is from Samurai Taku. Says the OT game-winning goal in Game 6 was a masterclass in offensive scheming, player positioning, and puck movement. Now the question is, will Sasha Barkov haunt the Oilers like he did in this game, like he did in real life? And that's an interesting one. I didn't even think about that, because obviously Barkov's won the Stanley Cup against the Oilers 2 years in a row in real life. In this, obviously, he's on the Nashville Predators, so hopefully he doesn't have a thing for beating the Oilers in this universe. Hopefully it's something that's only in real life, but as you can see, if we go down to Nashville Predators, this is what they're looking like, and you can kind of see why they've been such a good team. They have a very good offensive core led by Hall, Barkov, and Seguin. Like I said before, I think a few seasons ago when these guys got put together, maybe one of the nicest top lines I've seen. All these guys are 27 and younger as well, so they definitely still have time to continue to develop together. But you can see Seguin was brought in a few years ago from the St. Louis Blues. There was a pretty crazy trade, like Shea Weber went the other way. Definitely worked out, I guess, more for Nashville than St. Louis, because I don't think I've seen St. Louis get super far in the playoffs so far up to this point. Then there's also obviously Barkov, who they drafted 2nd overall back in the early stages of this franchise mode. And then Taylor Hall was an interesting one. He's been moved around a little bit by Toronto after Toronto played him for a few years. They did started to give him less and less ice time, and you could see in 2031 he just wasn't getting as much playing time. So basically they moved on to him to Nashville. And then Phil Kessel went back from Nashville to Toronto. That's what it was. Because Kessel was already in Nashville at that point. But they retraded for Phil Kessel and decided to give up Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall went to Nashville and has been very good since he's been there. So, yeah, we got to watch out for that top line especially. Second line is really good too, though, with Nikolai Kuhlman, Vince Ramsey, who's only getting better. This guy was another high-up selection only a few years back. And then there's Ryan Callahan. Third line has Dadonov as well as Anisimov and Pritchett, so very good third line, especially with Dadonov being an 85. And in this fourth line, maybe a little bit weaker with Brad Boyes being only a 74, but Brian Boyle's good, Scott Hartnell is good as well, so that offensive core is probably one of the best ones we've ran into at this point. And then our defense is also pretty strong, especially this top two of Yossi and Green. Mike Green coming over there from free agency from the Carolina Hurricanes. There's also Schultz and Pissick, DeMello, and Hamhuis. And then goaltending-wise, they do have Yaroslav Halak and this guy named Baines. So it's a very well-constructed team, and I definitely think they're a favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year, even though they haven't won a cup yet at this point in time. In the Eastern Conference, you do have Tampa and Buffalo. I would assume, if I'm going to guess right now, it's probably going to be a Tampa-Nashville Cup Finals, but obviously it could be the either way around. It would be kind of funny if it was Edmonton versus Buffalo, just because obviously then we could say, hey, look, it's like McDavid versus Eichel if those two guys were actually on those teams at this point in time. But with that said, I think we're ready to get into this matchup. Let's double actually check the lines just to make sure we have it set up the way we want to, which I think we do. We do have Marleau in the lineup. He was in the lineup at the end of the last series. We took out Andrew Shaw. Shaw has been good when he's in the lineup, so I think we will probably... Let's keep Marleau in for now. If Marleau starts to dwindle defensively, we could get Shaw back in, but it's not that Shaw's been a bad player, but we had to kind of reconfigure our lines a bit to try and beat the Flames, and the Flames weren't as hard as this Nashville team, so... we will probably keep it like this for now, but obviously if there's adjustments to be made, we will definitely make them. So with that said, let's get to the start of this conference finals and see if we can make it to the cup finals. We've never been in the finals yet in this franchise mode, so it would be nice if we can make it here this season. So with that said, let's get to game number one on the road in Nashville. Like I said, they're 8-1 so far this postseason, so they definitely should be due for a loss at some point. We should be able to get some wins against them, despite them being so good, in my opinion. First period, game number one. And it's 2-1 Preds. Not a terrible start, but I don't really like that we gave up 2 goals in the first. Seguin makes it 1-0 for them, so their top line's already on the board. We are still running McClement for now, because Vasilevsky isn't back yet, so... I'm not too sure if he will be back this round. There's a chance that he might be, maybe, but if he's not, he would be back in the Cup Finals. Anyway, Seguin made it 1-0. Brock Nelson answers back for us, and then Ramsey gets a goal from with 4 minutes left in the period. So a little bit of a late goal. We're being outshot 15-9, so I'd say that's still a decent period for McClement because he faced a lot of shots. Maybe we need to play better defensively, though, and not give up as many chances. So can we find a way to tie this game up in a second, or maybe just at least keep it close? Because obviously if we allow any more goals, it's going to be a tough hill to climb. Second period. 4-2. They double us up. We double our goals as well. Not an ideal start to this conference finals, but it's only game one, so we can't be too worried early on. Dadonov made it 3-1, and Marcoux made it 3-2. So we were in the game for only a couple minutes, though, because Dane Hamhuis restored that 2-goal advantage with a couple minutes later. So our outshooting is 27-17. Not really playing as good as we were, at least in those last 2 games against the Flames. But we have suffered a lot of inconsistencies this year in the playoffs, so it kind of makes sense that we'd play like this. But obviously we got to figure it out a little bit here, or else we could end up losing here potentially. So let's see what happens here in the third period, see if we can get an early goal, and maybe we could still come back in this one. Don't count us out just yet. Third period underway. Can we get an early goal to pull within 1? No, we can't. Kuhlman makes it 5-2. That's probably going to write this game off at this point in time, I guess. Regardless if we're playing bad in some of these games, we're going to have to eventually jump in and watch, just because I need to have a screenshot of at least a Preds player for the thumbnail. So that sucks though that we're going to lose game one this convincingly, but at least, like I said, it's only game one. We could still win next game and take at least a split in Nashville. So not a great first game. We get outshot 37-30. We lose by 3 goals. So definitely need to clean it up a bit defensively, and also need to find that offensive game a bit more. But Nelson from Marcoux and Toffoli, and then we had Marcoux from Lotte and Cameron. So Looks like Marcoux is at least still playing decently, but yeah, that's not the best effort we've seen from this team for sure. In terms of plus minus, Nathan MacKinnon was a -3, so our top guys had a pretty tough time, it looks like, in the plus minus department, so that might be something we need to look to address. And then, yeah, McClement definitely had one of his worst games of this entire playoffs. It kind of sucks because obviously he's been really good for the most part, but he's had some really rough games as well. But Nashville being a really good offensive team, it kind of makes sense that he's going to run into a game like this. So Kuhlman the first star of the game, Halak second star, and Dadonov the third star. So a couple former Islanders in real life, I guess, Kuhlman and Halak. Interesting. All right, I think we obviously should maybe look into adjustments after losing game 1, but at the same time, I'm not too sure if we should or not. Considering they're 9-1, they definitely have to be due for a loss at some point, right? They're not just going to lose one game en route to a Stanley Cup win. I don't think so, at least. I could make adjustments after a bad first game, and I think I will make maybe a couple. Usually I do it after 2 games in a row where we lose, but I feel like I already want to make an adjustment just because that was not exactly how I anticipated that game starting up. Let's see what we got here. Let's go back to Holden on that left side. And yeah, we're going to take Patty Marleau back out. I do like Marleau, but I'm going to get Shaw back in on that 4th line. We are also going to go back to having a lot. Let's go Fata back on that top line. Just kind of go back to our original lines and see if maybe that sparks something again. I know technically Fata has not been good this entire playoffs with only 4 points, but we might as well see if we could rejuvenate his playoffs a little bit. And then from a defensive standpoint, I know we were talking about the penalty minutes and stuff like that in the last episode, so we could still keep Metro down there, but I think what we're going to do is just go back to our original pairings on pretty much everything, just to try and get it to simulate a little bit more better in a way. And yeah, hopefully McClement could find his game again. So we'll go with that. How long until Vasilevsky's back, out of curiosity? Because I don't remember what date it said that he was back. Because currently it is the 15th. I think he's back like the 23rd, if I remember right. I got to double check on this. 20th. Okay, he's actually will be back for the series regardless. So we might be down 1-0 in a series right now, but it looks like he will be back for, I guess, technically game 4. So if we go down in a 3-0 hole, maybe Vasilevsky could find us out of it, but obviously, that's... actually, no, that would be Game 4 right here. Never mind. He would be back for a Game 5 situation, so we need to win at least one of these games, or else we might not get to see Vasilevsky this season again. So, with that said, let's get to Game 2. Couple adjustments. Buffalo's up 1-0 on Tampa, which is kind of surprising. I thought Tampa was the better of those two teams, but maybe Buffalo's a little bit of an underdog team. Tough to say. But, yeah, let's get to Game 2. See if we could get a good response. If we could at least take one of these games in Nashville, I'll be okay with it. First period, Game 2. 1-1, I'll take it. That's a better start. They do open the scoring Sagan again, so that top line for them has been still doing well. Lowry scores for us. Lowry's been a really underrated player. He's usually one of the guys that are getting points for us most consistently, so really have liked the way he's played this postseason. Maybe that means an elevated role next season if we do have another season of this franchise mode, which I honestly don't even know if I'll have time for another full season because I'm still trying to think, because technically this episode's going up on the 22nd. The next episode of this would be the 25th. Then we'd have, so that would be like an off season potentially. 27th. I don't even think we have time really for another season of this after this, potentially, which is kind of insane. I really hope we do, but if we don't, that would kind of suck. I'd have to find a way to kind of eat up the rest of the time of NHL 25 before 26 launches. But anyways, let's not focus on that. It's a 1-1 game. Shots are 14-11. Can we find a way to get that lead in the second period? Second period. 3-1 us. Okay, we do have our first lead of the series because we hadn't led it all in last game. Alta makes it 2-1. Toffoli makes it 3-1. This is looking much better. Good defensive play so far. Goaltending's been on point, and an offense is starting to find its game as well. So this is definitely a lot better so far for McClement. 1 goal against on 27 shots going into the third. Let's keep this lead intact, and let's not let them get back into this game. Third period underway. Can we get any more insurance markers to make me feel a little bit more safe about this lead? Because 2-goal leads are a little bit nerve-wracking at times. Final 10 minutes of this third, still up by a pair of goals. Looks like we're playing pretty good for the most part. Power play for us. We do not score on it, but does take time off the clock. Final few minutes. Are we going to lock this down? Yes, we are. We're going to win 3-1 in Nashville in Game 2. So we hand them only their second loss of this entire postseason. So we have tied the series up heading home, which is absolutely huge. They outshot us 32-30. So a huge bounce back game for McClement and our defensive core. I almost feel like we should be able to beat them just because I feel like every time I've been a 9-1 team going into the our finals or conference finals, I've ended up losing too many games. So I feel like maybe the hockey EA gods are on our side in this game. So let's see if we could actually find a way to beat them if we could win some home games. But Lowry from Latty, also from Latty and Lowry, to Foley from Nelson and Marco. Latty, Lowry, and Alto is a very awesome third line. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I really like Lowry. I really like Alto. Latty obviously had a little bit of problems staying disciplined last round, but he picks up a couple points here. So, yeah, and Marcoux picked up a point again, which is nice as well. So, Marcoux continuing his point streak, I guess, in this conference finals. And like I said, big bounce back game for McClement. McClement seems to always know how to bounce back from a tough game, so he gets first star of the game, Lowry second star, and Latty the third star. All right. So that's a great response, and that's why I didn't really want to make adjustments after game one, but I think I'm glad I did because we figured ourselves out defensively again. And Vasilevsky has returned to the lineup. The only thing is he's not fully healthy. And you know what I don't like is not having fully healthy goaltenders because they could get re-injured quite easily. So because of that, I am going to keep Dorsett up here as the backup option, but I'm going to have to send down temporarily. Let's just send down goalie as the one because he's not even played any games. We'll call him back up in a bit. But I'm just not, I'm not sending Vasi down to the AHL, obviously. I mean, that might not be a bad option, but he could still get re-injured. I just don't want him to play a single game right now at this point until he's actually ready to go. Because obviously, if he gets re-injured again, obviously you can kiss his season, but goodbye at that point. So we'll keep him as a scratch, which means Dorsett will obviously still stay in net as the backup. But I think obviously we're okay with running McClement right now up to this point in time. He's been definitely a really good goalie. I forget how Vasi was playing before his injury. Oh, he was playing good. He was playing good. So we'll have him back here shortly, but not till probably next game if he's healthy then. If it's not next game, it will definitely be game 5. So with that said, I think we're ready for the next game. Obviously, that was a textbook game 2. But now that Vasi's kind of back and at least watching these games, maybe he's not as in the hospital or whatever happened to him. I don't remember what his injury was again, but now he's at least maybe watching from closer up or something like that. So maybe we have a little bit more momentum because our number 1 goalie is on the cusp of returning. So with that said, let's get to game 3. We did just hand the Preds their first loss in quite some time. Can we find a way to take a series lead against them? That'd be impressive. First period, game 3. 1-0 Preds. Okay, that's not a terrible start. Does suck that once again allowed the first goal of the game. Pritchett opens the scoring. The shots are 10-5, so we doubled them up in shots, but they doubled us up in goals. Or actually not even really double, I guess, because 0 times 0 is obviously 0, or 0 times 2 is 0. But they definitely scored one more goal than we did, so not the best start from McClement considering last game was really good for him, but the good thing is we're still in striking distance and we're generating some offense, so it shouldn't be too hard for us to tie this game up in the second unless they find a way to get a lot more shots than us and they start finding ways to convert more on McClement. But let's see if we could tie this game up in the second potentially. Second period. 2-2. There we go. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Barkov makes it 2-0, so at that point, it does not look very good, but Moss makes it a 2-1 game. He's actually been a pretty good goal-scoring defenseman in this franchise mode, especially here lately in the playoffs. Like, I think he's got 3 or 4 goals this playoff run, and then Marcoux scores again, so Marcoux has points in 3 straight games here against Nashville, which is awesome. Shots are 22-15 in favor of us. It's a 2-2 game. Going into the third, it's anybody's game. Can we find a way to get our first lead of the night? Third period underway. Penalty kill to start the third. We kill it off. Nicely done. And we do take the lead. It's Alto the Finn. Let's go. Alto's been a really huge addition, I think, to this team as well, just because he obviously was in the AHL the last few years, but he's developed nicely, might be a Rookie of the Year candidate, and so far he's been great in the playoffs. Final few minutes, are we going to lock this down? Yes, we are. We take another game against the Preds, and I feel almost, not necessarily guaranteed, but I feel safe that this team could actually win against this Preds team just because of how hot they were going into this conference finals matchup. So we give them 2 of their 3 losses at this point. Final shots were 29 apiece, but we win by a goal. Let's go. Let's freaking go. Moss from Toffoli, Marcoux from Nelson, and Alto from Moss and Lowry. Lowry might be the favorite to win the Conn Smythe this year if we continue like this. Because I don't know if the goaltending is going to necessarily win a Conn Smythe if we win the Cup, but obviously we still have a lot of ways to go. But McClemott's also been brilliant at times. I don't think he's good enough to win the Conn Smythe if we win the Cup, but it's tough to say because obviously if we win the Cup now, Vasilevsky definitely isn't going to be that guy because he's missed so many games. So it might give it to a forward, but it's going to be a really interesting result if we do win the Cup this year. But Moss gets first star, McClemott the second star, and Marcoux the third star. All right. I really hope we can win the Cup this year because if we do, this will be kind of crazy that we won a Cup in this franchise mode before we do with the Islanders, which is kind of insane, at least as of I'm recording this. Let's go back to our goaltending here and obviously take Dorsett out. Dorsett's going to get sent back down. Goalie's going to get called back up. But Vasi is back, which is huge, but also maybe not necessarily needed with the way that McClemott's been playing. So Dorsett will get sent down, and we'll go back to centers here and get goalie back up here as our depth forward. So that's all good. Let's make sure the AHL is still good and set up, even though I don't think they're in the playoffs anymore. I just got to double check. So it was, Korpikoski who they signed us, a 27-year-old AHLer. We'll get Dorsett in. I'm not sure if they're still in the playoffs. I don't think so. Yeah, I think they might have got eliminated. But yeah, Vasi being back is nice. Is it needed? I honestly don't know. Yes, McClemott's got a .915 save percentage. Like, we could still be running McClemott if we want to, but obviously having Vasi back, we might as well give him a chance, at least considering he's our number 1 guy. So, anyways, we do have a 2-1 series lead, which is awesome. We're 10-7 this playoff run. They're 9-3, yet they've lost 2 times in a row to us, which is pretty impressive. So, Tampa's taking a 2-1 lead on Buffalo now as well. We might honestly, if we keep this up, face Tampa for a Stanley Cup potentially, but there's still a lot of series left to go. Don't want to think too much ahead. So with that said, let's keep the team the same. See if we can win 3 straight games against this Preds team and find a way to somehow push them to the brink. As Vasilevsky gets his first start in a while, right? He's already in that. Let's just double check it didn't keep McClemott in. Not that I would not want McClemott in. I just want to make sure Vasi gets a chance to at least show that he's ready to go again. Like, having Vasi back is absolutely huge for us. Like, maybe that's why we're also going as far as we have in this playoff run, because sometimes when you have a player get injured that's a superstar, I feel like that team usually simulates really good, and then that player comes back and they still do good or something like that. So, let's get to game 4. See if Vasilevsky is ready to show himself, or is he going to be terrible in this first game back? First period, game 4. Scoreless. Okay, that's a good first period from Vasi. He only faced 8 shots, but he doesn't allow a single goal, so definitely a nice little start up for him. Not a too much of a busy of a first period for him, but definitely enough to get him settled into this game. Like I said, shots 12-8 in favor of us. No goals so far. Can we find a way to get that lead in the second? Second period. 1-0 us. We do open the scoring, and it's another Finn again. It's Lahti, so Lahti and Altbo have been awesome for this team. Shots are 24-17 in favor of the Preds, but so far Vasilevsky has been not missing a beat, which is awesome. I really like the way our goalies have been playing in this playoffs. Like I said, there's been some hiccups with some of these goalies, like Vasilevsky, I think, had some bad games before. Obviously, he went down due to injury. And then McClemott has had some bad games as well this playoff run, but he's bounced back quite really good in a lot of the games. So we do have a 1-0 lead going into the third. Can we get some insurance? Because it's still a very tight game. Third period underway. Can we get some insurance? Maybe another Finn or something? Dylan DeMello of all people ties the game up at 1. Not who I was expecting to break Vasilevsky shutout, but I will say, okay. Penalty kill. Nicely done, penalty killers. Can we find a way to get this at least to an overtime? Penalty kill again. Stop taking penalties, boys. And we will be going to overtime. And since, like I said, we do need a screenshot of a Nashville Predators player, we are actually going to jump into this, which normally I wouldn't do, but I do need a screenshot of like Barkov or something in a Nashville jersey for the thumbnail. So we might as well jump in and watch this, even though we are technically only up 2-1 in the series. So this might be a really bad thing to do, but I need it for the thumbnail because there's no way else I'm going to be able to get Barkov on the thumbnail. So let's go to this and see if we can find a way to win here on home ice. See if we could get another crazy play like last overtime we were in against Calgary. So if we get that next one, we take a 3-1 series lead. If they get it, obviously it's back to an even series and a best of 3. Cameron at the faceoff will win it. Hlinka carries it up. Here comes Hlinka, can't get by, and he drew a power play right away, and the guy that took the penalty was Barkov. So Aleksander Barkov, who in real life is a pretty disciplined player, I would say, makes a bad mistake. He took a penalty right off that faceoff, knocking down Cameron. Maybe a bit of a soft call for an overtime playoff game, but I'll definitely take the power play. Barkov's not even a captain on that team. Huh, that's kind of surprising. Oh, man, I meant to go to their yellow jerseys, technically. This sucks, because this is outdated, and this doesn't make sense for 2019 at all. But I guess we'll still go with it, because I didn't even think of that at all for some reason. But I just need a screenshot of Barkov here, so I can put him on the thumbnail. But it will be a little bit unreal, just because of the fact that, like I said, they would have been already wearing their yellow jerseys at this point, but is what it is. I don't care too much about that. Some people might, but let's see if we could find a way to get that winner. All right. So far, not generating anything on this power play. We do get possession of the puck now, though. Here's Justin Falk, gets hit from behind. Throws it over to Nelson. Nelson over to McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon throws it over to Cameron. He shoots, he scores! Cameron again! And we are up 3-1 on the Nashville Predators as we've pushed them to the brink. A huge goal again from Cameron. Every time we jump into overtime, it's always this top unit that scores. And Vasilevsky picks up a win in his return. This team is 1 win away from the Stanley Cup Finals on a goal from Cameron. I can't ask for any better player to score on that. As McKinnon made a great play. Cameron was all alone in front. Great screen by Marcoux. This bounced off, I think, a stick of a Preds player too. And it finds its way in. Look at that. Puck on a string for Cameron. Cameron's such a stud on this team, man. Absolutely amazing. Let's go. 1 win away from the Stanley Cup Finals in 2019. I wonder who we'll face if we do get there. But a little bit of a weak penalty call, I would say still. But at least it was on our side. But yeah, what a pass from McKinnon. He was like kind of stumbling too while he made this pass. And then Cameron walks right in. Big screen there by Marcoux. And the goalie can't see really anything. Cameron shoots this off the ankle of, who is that? Dylan DeMello, who tied this game up at one point. That's funny. So yeah, Cameron brings it off DeMello, and then it bounces off the goalie's pads. Halak wearing his Habs stuff still, which is funny. Goes up and in. A big goal there again from Cameron. Once again, I feel like we need more screenshots of this guy just because he is been an overtime maniac in this series. Let's friggin' go, Cameron. Like I said, he hasn't shown up like much during like other games, but in overtimes he shows up a lot. He gets third star of the game with that game-winning goal, banking it off to Melo. All right, second star of the game going to Joakim Lahti with the goal and 3 hits. And first star of the game, Andrei Vasilevsky in his return, 28 saves. Love to see it. So we had Lahti from Alto and Lowry. It always seems like it's those 3 guys that work together. And then Cameron from McKinnon and Brock Nelson. Let's go, man. 1 win away from the Cup Finals. Well, this team is definitely doing well this year. Of course, it has to be in probably one of our last seasons that we're going this far, which is awesome. But we're 1 win away. And looks like Buffalo and Tampa are still tied now. So we have no idea who we might face in the finals at this point. But we've handed a really good team that only had 1 loss going into this conference finals, 3 straight losses. So all of a sudden we found our play defensively quite a bit after that first game. Like, I think I've seen this type of scenario before, but I've been on the opposite end of it. Like, our team dominated one time, I think, in a franchise mode all the way to the conference finals, won the first game convincingly, but then the next 3 games just could not find itself, or 4 games even for that matter. So I feel like we're almost doing to the Preds what's been done to me in the past in some franchise modes, like with my Islanders team, I think, for that matter. So with that said, I think we're ready to get into this next game. Our team's found itself. Vasilevsky's returned to form too. Let's see if we could close out the Preds. Hopefully we don't lose 3 straight games now, because that absolutely suck. But let's see if we can find ourselves in the Stanley Cup Finals in 2019. First period, game number... What game number is it? Game number 5? Yeah, game number 5, I think. I honestly don't even know at this point. My brain just scrambled. First period anyways. 3-2. Okay, I don't really like that defensive start, but I like that offensive start. So Brad Boyes opens the scoring, of all people, considering he's a low overall. Marcoux answers back to tie the game up at 1 apiece, which is good. And then Toffoli then scores 2 quick goals 4 minutes apart. And then Ramsey scores late to basically pull them within 1. All right, shots are 11 and 10 in favor of them, but we're up by a goal. So far, both goalies not off to the best of starts, which is kind of surprising because the last 2 games, both goalies have been pretty good. But so far, both goalies not doing that well. Can we find a way to keep this lead intact in a second, not allow them to get back into this game? Because right now, it seems like it's a bit of a shootout. Second period. 4-4. Not great. Marcoux made it a 4-2 lead, but they answer back with 2 goals. Yossi and a power play goal from Pritchett. It's anybody's game going into the third at this point. Like I said, don't really like the defensive play, but I like that our team is finding ways to score goals, but we knew that eventually Nashville would have another game that they started to find their game a bit again, but this is still a tough one. Shots are 23-21, very close. Can we find a way to get that lead back in the third, or is this a potential another overtime scenario? Third period underway. Can we get that lead back? Can we get that lead back is the question. Come on, boys. Penalty kill. Please kill it off. Nicely done. Power play for us. We do score on it, and it's Mackey of all people. Another Finn. Let's go, but they tie it up again. Nikolai Kulemin scores a power play goal for them. Final few minutes here. And we might be intervening here. Let's intervene. There's a minute 15 left in the third still, but I might as well intervene here, and we might get a new screenshot of Barkov just because I wanted to kind of actually be realistic to what the jerseys were at that time period, because that first one that I jumped in on didn't really make much sense. So instead, we want to go with, I think it's these jerseys for 2019. Yeah, because 2020, they would have had some other random ones. So, yeah, we'll go with that, and we'll jump on in late in the third, see if we could find maybe a late winner, or maybe it's going to be another overtime game. But not as good of a start for Vasilevsky in this one, but the Preds are a good offensive team. Makes sense that they would score some goals against us after not so much in the last 3. Marcoux wins the draw here. Is Mackey finding Rodriguez? Over to Nelson, over to Toffoli. Toffoli has already a pair of goals in this game. Nelson finds him. In the corner, Toffoli battling with Mike Green. It's dug out. Pritchett turns it over, but it's now with Mike Green. Green over to Anisimov. Nice poke check there by Mackey. Here is Marcoux. Marcoux with the puck. We'll dump it in. Nelson takes it behind the net, throws it out front. Toffoli, a chance turned away. Good chance there. Almost knocked out of the air, too, by Marcoux on that play. Here comes Dadonov. Dadonov walking in with the puck. Shoots. Big save by Vasilevsky. And they almost have full pressure, which I don't understand because they haven't really had sustained pressure in this since we jumped in. But I don't really know. Maybe it's just because it's the final minute or something. I honestly don't know. All right, big face-off. Here we have Cameron versus Barkov. Oh boy, Barkov out there for the face-off is not ideal. Cameron, no, wins it. Falk gets hit by Barkov. Barkov takes it, finds Hall to say again, and a big save by Vasilevsky. Maybe saving the Preds from coming back in this series. Holy crap, that was dangerous. They have full pressure, though, here this late in the game, too, which is scary. But that's a massive save on one of their best players. Cameron again against Barkov. Come on, Cameron. And he doesn't win it. Barkov wins it. Yossi to Hall, and Falk takes it away. We do get rid of the pressure, which is huge. Here comes Fata. Fata can't get in. Fata still battling for the puck. Throws it to the point. Holinka can't shoot it. Now it's with Barkov again. Sasha Barkov gets hit. Nathan MacKinnon with it. We might be going to OT here. Yep, we are. Another overtime with the Nashville Predators, which I don't mind just because our team's been playing really good against such a good team. But that save, absolutely huge at this point. But yeah, we definitely need to go get a screenshot again of Barkov just for the thumbnail purpose. But now he's going to be in his home jersey, which doesn't really make much sense, but I still need to get it anyways. You guys could probably understand in a way, so let's just get him like that and get a nice screenshot. Boom, and that is good. Perfect. All right. Well, we head to overtime. Shots 36-33, 5-5 game. It's been very back and forth. I don't really know who's going to score a winner or if it's us, if it's them. Let's just hope that maybe we have some more Cameron heroics in us because Cameron has been the OT guy for us going forward so far. So Barkov wins the opening faceoff. Here is Roman Josi. Josi walking in with the puck to Taylor Hall. Nice block by Falk. MacKinnon with the puck now. Using that speed. Nathan MacKinnon makes a move. Can't get to the net, but he drew a penalty. Because I think, or somebody else maybe, I don't know, Taylor Hall takes a penalty, which is kind of funny for the memes just because us being the Oilers. But an offensive zone penalty from Taylor Hall as the Preds seem to be getting into penalty trouble early into overtimes. And we have another big power play. And our power play has looked really good when we've jumped in. So this could be really big if we can find a way to power play overtime goal to send us to the Cup Finals. We do have our second unit out there of Lotti, Alto, and Toffoli. Let's see if they can win the draw. And we can't win the faceoff. Lotti steals the puck but can't get a shot. Damn, that would have been crazy. Here's Ryan Callahan for the Preds. He'll walk in shorthanded. Poke check, though. Alto to Lotti. Lotti throws it over to Toffoli. Can't get by Dylan DeMello. Come on, just got to bank it off Dylan DeMello again, and we could score a goal. Nice knockdown by Nelson because they looked like they were going for the home run pass. Justin Falk walks in, blasts it, and Halak will make the save. All right, standard chance. Nothing too crazy, but enough to maybe start getting us some ozone time. But, yeah, big hit there from Barkov. Barkov seems like a really tough player to play against. He wins faceoffs in this. He's also very good at his takeaways, of course. Now they have Sagan and Anisimov out there on this penalty kill. I don't know if I would ever put Tyler Sagan on a penalty kill unit, but maybe he's actually good. Fought a chance turned away. Nathan MacKinnon battling down low with Pysyk. Pysyk will take it away, and he gets it out. Pysyk does actually have some ties to Edmonton, too, because I think he used to play for the Oil Kings, if I'm not mistaken. Cameron can't get by. Hughes will throw it up to Anisimov, and he'll clear it. We almost have a minute left on our power play, so not generating as much as we're used to. Fodder with the puck, almost had it stripped away. Now it's with Nathan MacKinnon. We have a 3-on-3 here. MacKinnon throws it over. Marcoux now. Marcoux shoots. He scores. Kenny Marcoux, the hat trick. It says, at least, I don't know if it was the hat trick. I don't remember him scoring in this game, but he sends us to the Stanley Cup Finals. Let's freaking go. Another power play goal for his team in overtime. We eliminate the Preds on 4 straight victories. Not as pretty of a game here, but that's a huge goal. And we will be going to a Cup Finals. This has to be our last season at this point. See if we could get it done. Nathan MacKinnon obviously leading away as our captain, but Marcoux with the game-winning goal. There's Vasi and Halak shaking hands. And there's Nathan MacKinnon, the first time we're going to the Cup Finals in this universe. Let's go. Let's friggin' go, man. I was not expecting us to win this game, I feel like, just because it was so back and forth. But that big save on Tyler Sagan, and then we find a way to win it in overtime. Man, that's awesome. Let's friggin' go. We've had some pretty big heroics from guys like Marcoux. And also, obviously, Cameron. Cameron being on the ice for that goal as well is awesome. Couldn't have asked for a better line to be out there for the game winner. But we got to take a look back at this goal. But Fada was harassed here completely by Sagan. And I thought there was going to be a turnover at this point. But there wasn't. Fada digs it out, then gets a nice little rush going. Nathan MacKinnon will use his speed and then also his deception to kind of draw people in. Throws a nice saucer pass across. And this one was intended, I think, for Cameron, but Marcoux knocks it down. Didn't get possession of this puck. Yeah, definitely I think was intended for Cameron. Marcoux then sees he has a shooting lane, and all of a sudden it's a 3-on-2. I have no idea what Nashville... I guess they're covering the point. Kind of makes some sense. But Marcoux then walks right in, sees the screen in front, throws it down low, off the pad, and then off the blocker of Halak. And that sends us to the Cup Finals, and I love this Sully too. The spin celly that goes like this is absolutely hard, especially when it sends us to the Cup Finals. And we don't have any screenshots of Marcoux, so this is exactly what I need just for my own time's sake. Marcoux, we go with that. And yeah, we'll get a screenshot like that. As you can see, wow, that Oilers fan in the bottom. Hell yeah, let's go. The Oilers fan down here. This is the guy I was talking about. Like, look, this guy is absolutely jacked. And that would be a good, actually, Discord emoji potentially, too. So maybe I got to get a screenshot of this dude as well while we're at it. And, of course, yeah, those Preds fans are like, damn, man, we just got eliminated. But, boom. Shout out to Marcoux. Let's maybe actually get one more screenshot in a different angle just in case. Because Marcoux is maybe one of my favorite players as well on this team. So, absolutely electric goal here on the road to send us to the Cup Finals. So, who got third star of the game in this one anyways? Kuhlman, third star for Nashville, 3 points. Toffoli, second star, 3 points for him, including those 2 goals. And the first star of the game, yeah, Marcoux had 5 points. I didn't even realize that. God damn. 5 points on 6 goals for Marcoux. Marcoux has been absolutely crazy these last few years. I didn't even realize he actually did have that hat trick. I don't know why I completely blanked that he had those goals earlier in the sim, but I did. So Marcoux makes it 1-1 early in the game from Holinka and Latti. Then we had the Toffoli goals. Nelson and Marcoux assist on the first one. Moss and Marcoux on the second one. Then Marcoux scored from Falk and Toffoli. Mackey scored from Alto and Latti. So that's the finished goal again. All 3 of those guys being finished players. And then the game winner, Marcoux from McKinnon and Fada. So Marcoux in the first period alone had 3 points. Then he had a second period point and then the overtime winner. Marcoux is friggin' amazing, man. 5 points and a +4. Toffoli, obviously 3 points. Latti, 2 points. Bunch of guys on 1 point. They had a couple power play goals, I think, potentially, but there was a couple of guys that were badly minus, but I don't care too much. And Vasilevsky definitely didn't play super strong, but he got the win, and that's all that really matters. But your Edmonton Oilers are on their way to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2019. Amazing. That was our easiest round 2, which is insane, considering Nashville was better than us, but wow. And Tampa's 1 win away from the Cup Finals, so we might be having Vasi face off against his team that he actually played for in real life, of course, or plays for, which is kind of funny. But let's take a look at our stats through 3 rounds, and then we'll see what we're going up against potentially in the Cup Finals. Could be still Buffalo, so we've got to see what that's going to be about. But look at this. Did you guys expect Latti to be leading this team in points? Probably not. And the crazy thing is he did generate an X Factor even though he was a second round pick. No contest. So the Finns have been awesome. He's leading the team in points. Marcoux has also got 15 points. Lowry's got 14. Nathan McKinnon's got 12. Same with Toffoli and Alto. Like, the depth scoring is still on point with this team, which is awesome to see. So shout out to all these guys. There's been some guys that have badly plus minus though, like Fada. Cameron's somehow a -1, and then McKinnon's a -6. But I just really like the way that some of these guys have shown up. Like, I was not expecting Latti and Lowry and Marcoux to be the 3 guys to lead us this playoff run. I thought it would be like Nathan McKinnon and Cameron and all that. But Cameron's been arguably one of our worst players, but 2 of his 4 goals have been overtime winners. When we've jumped in, that is. From a defensive standpoint, Falk's on 11 points. He's been good. Moss on 7 has been awesome as well. Mackey on 6 points. Metro on 5. And Holinka on 4. Rodriguez still has no points, but he's been a steady defensive defenseman. And then goalie-wise, McClemens on a 915. Save percentage, of course, hasn't played in a little bit. Vasilevsky's running a 913. So, who should start in the Cup Finals? Should we continue to run Vasilevsky after he didn't play that great in that last game? Or should we run McClement, potentially? It's tough to say, because I think I would probably run Vasilevsky just because he's our guy, but obviously McClement is another really good player. So, and in general, I think obviously we got to probably keep our lines the same next round, even though, like I said, some people are pretty badly minus. Mostly Cameron McKinnon and Fada. Especially McKinnon and Fada, I guess, for the most part. So, that top line, definitely out there for a lot of goals against. Maybe they're just getting a lot of ice time. Tough to say. Did we have any minus defensemen, though? No, we don't. So, I don't really know why those guys are always minus, but yes, they are. Alright, so a conference finals victory. The question is it going to be Tampa or Buffalo that meets us in this finals? If it's Buffalo, it'd be kind of a meme-worthy finals. If it's Tampa, it would be Vasilevsky versus a team that he actually plays for right now. And it's going to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Buffalo just won 3-2 in that last game. Who will end up winning this one and facing us in the finals? The answer to that will be the Buffalo Sabres. All right, we have home ice advantage in the Cup Finals. I like that, but Buffalo just absolutely slapped Tampa in Game 7. 6-1, as you guys could maybe see on the top, but what the heck is this? A little comparison so far during the playoffs. We're the better offensive team. They're the better defensive team by a large margin, though, which is kind of crazy. Power play percentage, they're better, and penalty kill percentage, they're better. So they're just a strong team, I guess, for the most part, which is kind of surprising. They only had 42 wins during the season, though, so this might be our best chance to win the Cup. It might be. But they did just beat Tampa 6-1, which is insane. Let's take a look, actually, at the box score of this game for fun, too. Actually, I don't really want to take a look at the box score fully. I want to see how badly they outshot them and all that. 34-29. Huh. All right. Because I don't want to really know what their roster looks like yet. But I don't think Buffalo's really that good. 42-33-7. 4-4-2 going into the playoffs. And all of a sudden, they're a very good team this playoff run. Which is interesting. What's their playoff record, out of curiosity? It is, once this loads, 12-7, just like us. Interesting. So they haven't won out every single game either. This could be a good chance for our team. A very good chance. But obviously, Buffalo could surprise us too, so we got to be careful. But what are the Sabres looking like in 2019? The fact that Buffalo's in a Cup Finals before they were in real life is actually kind of funny, but here is their team. First line, RJ Umberger, William Karlsson, Patrick Hornqvist. Oh my goodness, this offensive core is crazy. Okay, how did they finish this low during the season is my question. So they look like a cheese team based on their record, but on paper, they look like a team that could have won a President's Trophy. This is a really good top line. Second line, Thomas Vanek, Eric Fehr, and Drew Stafford. I don't know about having Eric Fehr as a second line center, but Vanek playing second line and Stafford playing second line is crazy good. Third line has Jason Zucker, Patrick Berglund, and that Jonathan Baker guy who was with Chicago a few years ago but got dealt to them. Really good third line. And then fourth line is JVR, this guy named Marty Kerslake, who is a medium elite guy that was just drafted 4th overall 2 years ago. And then they also have Doug Pollock, who is also medium elite, was a 4th round pick. Damn. That's actually a really good forward group. Like, they have no weakness. Like, how are you playing JVR as a 4th line guy? That's insane. So, this Buffalo GM is definitely smarter than the real life one. Defensively, Morgan Riley's still there, which is an interesting one because obviously we saw a few years ago he was being used as like a healthy scratch. He was on the trading block at one point, but now he's finding his game a little bit. He's playing with that Brzgalov guy who was drafted quite early into this franchise mode in year 1. There's also still Tyler Myers, who's still there after all these years. Hannu Kukkonen, Paul Ranger, and Nick Seeler. I don't know about that defensive core, though. It's good in the top 4. Kukkonen's maybe not the best player to have there, but 3 of their 6 defenders are good. Maybe they have an injury, though. Goaltending-wise, Jake Allen's there, and then Calvin Pickard. I mean, Calvin Pickard obviously played for the Oilers recently in real life, but Calvin Pickard is Buffalo's backup. Mostly a career AHLer, but he played 35 games this year for the Buffalo Sabres. And then Jake Allen, I think, was a deadline pickup? No, he wasn't. He was brought in, I guess, from Toronto, looks like, but via free agency. I'm not sure. But, yeah, he's rocking a .920 save percentage. Hasn't started all their games, so maybe Allen was injured for a good part of the season, too, just like Vasi has been. Yeah, because Pickard has more starts this playoff run than he does, so Calvin Pickard got the Sabres far, and then they found themselves in the finals because Jake Allen returned. That's really weird. Scratches, they have Dustin Kelly, who is a top 6 forward prospect. They also have Jay McClement, and Ian White is currently injured, but he's not a hugely great player anyways at this point. Probably wouldn't even be in the lineup. So, that's an interesting one. Very good offensive core. Defensive core, kind of a work in progress. Goalies are good. So if we could contain their offense, I think we could win, but it's definitely tougher than I expected because like they literally only went 42, 33, and 7. So maybe that injury to Jake Allen kind of set the tone for the rest of the season where they kind of slumped their way into the playoffs. Jake Allen returned, obviously, after a good start to the playoffs by Pickard, and now they're somehow in the Cup Finals. That's basically it. It's probably similar to us, but obviously we didn't slump our way into the playoffs because we obviously had Vasilevsky's injury. Was it before the playoffs? No, it was early into the first round, and then he came back just now. So maybe these teams are similar in that sense. Let's take a look at how they actually simulated during the regular season, though, too, because I'm not too sure on their power play percentage during the season and all that. Actually, let's just go. Actually, we'll go entire league. We were all the way where again? 9th in the league. Where were they? 13th. So if we're doing a comparison, they only had 8 points less than us technically. But I still don't really know if I like their record that much. 42 and 40 basically. But they scored more goals per game than us during the season. That's kind of surprising. Goals against, though, they were tragic defensively. They actually allowed more than they scored, but they still made the playoffs. And then somehow they're a good defensive team now in the playoffs. That makes no sense. Power play percentage, their power play was better than ours by not that much. And penalty kill percentage, ours was better. That's interesting. Only 2 short-handed goals. They were okay, actually really good on home ice, but not good on the road. We were really good on the road, but not good on home ice. I feel like this is going to be a really weird Cup Finals. But, damn. I think we have a chance, but obviously we got to be careful about that offensive core of theirs. Is there anything else I want to take a look at before we end this episode? Actually, I do want to take a look at their contracts for fun, too. Just because I'm curious if they're up against the cap. Yes, they are kind of. 2.8 left in cap space. William Karlsson's a pending free agent, huh? Who are they paying a lot of money to right now? The most, too. Thomas Vanek's making 9.9. Goddamn. But he is a good goal scorer, so it makes sense. And then goalies, Jake Allen's only making 1.69. It's not bad. And I also do want to take a look at their player stats from the season in the playoffs so far so we can kind of know what to look out for in this Cup Finals. But I am very happy that we're making it to the finals in the season just because, like I said, it could be the last season we do in this franchise mode. So Hornqvist, 74 points. Vanek on 68, Stafford on 65. All right, looks like they have some pretty good depth scoring. They were better offensively than us, but they have some really bad plus-minus players, though, like this Pollock guy who's minus 26 during the season. From a defensive standpoint, looks like they do get a decent amount of points from Riley, some decent points from Brzgalov and Myers. But, yeah, they definitely had some defensive issues during the season, I could see. And, yeah, Calvin Pickard was not good during the season, an 890 save percentage, and he was below 500. Yet he's came into this playoffs this year and somehow went 7-2-2 with a 940 save percentage. It's a 78. It's a total EA thing to do, but at least we won't have to face off against him. Maybe we could just make Jake Allen get destroyed or something. How about playoff-wise? Obviously, we know the goalie's been good, but I'm curious on who's leading them in points and all that. William Karlsson, 21 points in 19 games, so it looks like they're getting that offensive depth scoring a little bit better here in the playoffs. Yeah, 21 points for Karlsson leads the way. Sucker only has 3 points. Damn. That's kind of surprising because he's an 83. You think he'd be much better than that. Guys like Baker have no goals up to this point, too. And then Kerslake, who's that elite guy that won 4th overall, only has 3 points, but they're probably barely getting ice time. Yeah, under 10 minutes, or under 11 minutes, I should say. And then from a defensive standpoint, Riley has 10 points to lead the team. And in goalies, obviously we've seen both these goalies have really good stats. Interesting. I feel like they're, like I said, their record suggests cheese team, but on paper, I would say they're far from it. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Buffalo Sabres. As we look to see how we do against them, I honestly don't know really what to make of them. I think we could beat them, but once again, it really just comes down to if we can contain that offense of theirs. So far, I'd say obviously we've been a pretty standard team. We've had some bad special teams, but I'd say 5-on-5, like we're kind of just average, kind of with them as well, but they're above average defensively and in net. So I think it could be an even matchup for the most part. So let me know that below, and I'll see you guys next time.